Welcome in, everyone. I hope you guys are doing great wherever you're watching from today. We are once again joined by Dusty the dog. He's had a fun run with us, and we see no reason to stop it. He hopped up here right before I started filming, wanted to get in the video. In today's topic, we're talking about the peace meeting that is going to happen in Turkey between Russia and Ukraine. It's very important, a big step towards stopping the war. Before we get into that, as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell so you always know when a new video is coming. And comment with, oh, there he goes. He's yawning. He's very tired. He needs a nap. And comment with your thoughts below about the war in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine. Now, let's roll into it. As we all know, Russia and Ukraine have been at war since the Russian invasion of February 2022. That's more than 3 years ago at this point. The fighting has been absolutely nothing short of horrific and barbaric. I mean, you got trench-style warfare going on. You got artillery just doing horrific things on the battlefield. Casualties, while not fully known, are believed to be in the high 100,000s. Some have estimated maybe even more than 1 million, but again, none of that's been confirmed because both sides, to be quite frank with you, do a lot of lying when it comes to their casualties and then how many they've inflicted on the other side. So the numbers can't really be trusted. But the point is, the war has gone on far too long, claimed far too many lives. And President Trump, when he was running for office, made it clear that he was going to push towards a path for peace. It is now May 2025. He's been in office for a few months. The war is still raging, but it appears we might have a significant update on the situation and on the status of the war. So first, I'm going to go ahead and throw this up on the screen for you all. This is an announcement that Trump made on Truth Social over the weekend. It says President Putin of Russia doesn't want to have a ceasefire agreement with Ukraine, but rather wants to meet on Thursday in Turkey to negotiate a possible end to the bloodbath. Ukraine should agree to this immediately. At least they would be able to determine whether or not a deal is possible, and if it is not, European leaders in the U.S. will know where everything stands and can proceed accordingly. I'm starting to doubt that Ukraine will make a deal with Putin, who's too busy celebrating the victory of World War II, which could not have been won, not even close, without the United States of America have the meeting. So right there, that's President Donald Trump demanding, essentially, he wants the two sides to meet. He wants to see an end to the bloodshed. He wants peace in Eastern Europe. He wants peace in Ukraine. So he's urging the meeting to happen. It does look like that meeting will happen. Let me go ahead and throw this up on the screen for you as well. This comes from Fox News. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy agreed on Sunday to meet face-to-face with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Turkey. Putin initially proposed the Thursday meeting this weekend, and President Donald Trump prompted Zelenskyy to accept the offer. Putin said the talks in Istanbul must be held without preconditions and with the goal of a lasting peace. Zelenskyy, in response, wrote, "We await a full and lasting ceasefire starting from tomorrow to provide the necessary basis for diplomacy. There's no point in prolonging the killings, and I will be waiting for Putin in Turkey on Thursday. Personally, I hope that this time with the Russians will not look for excuses." And it states a little bit more down here. It says, Putin has thus far offered few, if any, concessions, but is now saying talks should address the root causes of the war. He said he would speak to Turkish President Erdogan later on Sunday about facilitating the negotiations, which he said could result in a ceasefire. Our proposal, as they say, is on the table. The decision is now up to the Ukrainian authorities and their curators, who are guided, it seems, by their personal political ambitions and not by the interest of their own people. So that's the baseline here. President Putin is going to meet with President Zelenskyy. That's the plan. As of now, this is being filmed on Monday, May 12th. They're going to meet in Turkey to discuss a possible end of the war. Trump is kind of playing middleman here, encouraging the meeting to happen, applying pressure to Zelenskyy to make sure the meeting does happen. But where do we go from here? What happens next? Let's get into it right now. In terms of what happens next, that really remains unknown until this meeting between Zelenskyy and Putin actually takes place on Thursday. Of course, it's a fluid situation. That meeting could fall apart at any moment and might not even happen. But for now, the meeting is on, and that is good news. The reality of the situation is this. Far too many people have lost their lives. Far too many people have been wounded and injured in the fighting. And we essentially have a situation where Ukraine cannot win without direct support from the United States military and NATO putting troops on the ground in Ukraine. That is the only way that the Russians are going to get pushed out of eastern Ukraine. People might not be happy to hear that. They might not be happy that that's the reality on the ground, but that is the truth. And I'm here to tell you all the truth. Unless United States troops go into Ukraine, Russia cannot be pushed out by the Ukrainian military. They have, what, a 5-to-1 manpower advantage. They have an actual industrial arms capacity to make weapons and such. Ukraine is 100% reliant on the United States for everything it has, and it's reliant on Western European countries such as France and England, less so than the United States, but they're relying on them 100%. And this is just basic military truths. The bigger country with more power is almost always going to win, and Russia is significantly bigger and has significantly more military power than the Ukrainians have. Add in the fact that President Donald Trump has made it clear he is not interested in this war being dragged out much longer. He wants to pressure Ukraine and Russia both to take some kind of deal to end the fighting. He wants to see the fighting end. He wants to see the dying end. And he is using the power of the presidency. The United States president, as we know, is the most powerful man in the world. He is using his position of power to apply pressure where he can to try to bring an end to the bloodshed that we have watched unfold. My best guess for what happens next is that you will see some kind of deal that is reached in the short term, that is a ceasefire. And then when this is all said and done, and this could take months, maybe even another year, there's no concrete timeline for when this could end. You're going to see the battle lines essentially frozen. You're going to see the eastern part of Ukraine be under de facto Russian control, which it is right now. And then the United States and European allies will invest some level of money into rebuilding Ukraine. We've already spent a ton of money in Ukraine. Now, yes, a lot of the aid we give them is then used to purchase U.S. weapons, but let's not pretend for 1 second like there's not money that disappeared, that there's not weapons that can't be accounted for. We all know this to be true. Now, is it as bad as some people say? Probably not. It is a war. It is chaos. It is a very, very dynamic, fluid situation. But again, Ukraine is 100% reliant on the United States. And we're not sending our own men into Ukraine to die fighting the Russians. That would be the end of the Trump presidency. That would be a disaster unlike anything you could imagine for Trump and his presidency if he actually sent U.S. troops to go fight Russia in Ukraine. It would be beyond stupid. We've seen a lot of dumb American foreign policy decisions over the years. That one, my friends, would be hands down the dumbest. In fact, let me know what you think about the idea in the comments of sending troops to Ukraine. I'm sure many of you agree with me that it would be horrifically stupid because that's what it would be. You're likely going to see the battle lines frozen, a ceasefire deal that is played out over months, coming together, being built, and then that'll just become the new kind of status quo. You'll see similar to what we saw with the end of the Korean War. But the important thing is Trump wants peace. The Ukrainian people, many of them, are done because they know they can't continue fighting and they'd rather live than lose their country and all die anyways. So a deal has to get done. And if that means we have to apply pressure where pressure needs to be applied, so be it. So be it. But a deal needs to be done because we have more important things to worry about, such as the crisis, whether or not we're going to attack Iran, which fortunately looks like it's not going to happen. And then the big, I hate to sound sarcastic, but the big game, the big show is obviously a potential showdown with China. So that's where it stands. That's where it's at. We have the ability to squeeze Ukraine to do what we want them to do. And that's exactly likely what's going to happen. And you will see a stalemate, the line's frozen, and that's where, it'll continue for years. And that'll just become the new status quo. But let me know in the comments below what you think about this potential peace deal with Ukraine and Russia, what you think of the war. Make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, I'll see y'all next time.